How are you, Zach? Hey, by the way, I hope your health is good, and you're probably thinking, who is this guy? Well, my name was Seth, still is. Um, I won't get into that right now. But Mayor, guy that said, yeah, a little while ago. Um, I guess there's no need for an intro on that. I'm going to post this next to it. Yeah, I remember I watched well, I actually learned who you were. This kind of crazy old guy named Mel. He used to go around saying he was Scottish all the time. He definitely, well, that's another. That's right. Anyway, um, I remember periodically after this thing happened with the TST, because I was actually really fascinated with this. And this may jar your memory. It was about 2015, and had just left a thelemic group at the time. Yeah, I think we all have some kind of. I've watched some of your videos. You can relate. Well, yeah, we're kind of talking about it. We all have something you don't tell people about certain parts of your life. It's a confession. So, uh, in any event, I was still at the point where I was interested in it, at the very least, to see what was going on. And although I didn't like to go around admitting it at the time because to me I had egg on my face as a joiner, I was actually considering getting involved with the TST for what I hope by my memory wasn't very long. But if I ever had any illusion in my head at the time, the idea of me even getting anywhere near an organization like that for any reason other than to make fun of it, to me, is so alien to me, it's hard to connect with that person that I was. But I was given your number by this guy, Mel. And this might jar your memory. Jar. Jog. Jog your memory. And he. There was a guy, something Harris. I don't remember what his first name was. Don't much matter, I guess. And I had told this old man about this guy. This is just a setup. I'll get to the story. I won't spend too much time on it, But I want to see if you remember our conversation. So we were on the phone for about 2 hours. What started out as me just being a bit of a harbinger. This old man, Mel. Wow, I actually can't remember his last name. He died, I heard, during COVID. Um, but his name was Mel. If you remember a black guy that walked around saying he knew Anton LaVey, with that and a bunch of other questionable stories, wore a kilt all the time, that's the guy. He gave me your number, which somewhere on a database somewhere I still have, because I came across it one time. And I'm like, Zach Black, I should see how that guy's doing. And then you ended up on my Facebook. And anyway, he gives me your number. And we just ended up starting out with me warning you about this guy because this Harris guy believed, I think it was his name, believed that torture and kidnapping, not torture like the stuff that they were arguing about in the military all those years ago, like literally recreational torture, was fine. I'm like, this is another story that's a setup for this one. I'll make this one quick. But I talked to the guy. I'm like, holy shit, man. I mean, I've heard some doozies in my life. I've had a few stories that curled my hair, but this was like a whole nother level. And I mentioned it to Mel. Because I'm thinking, okay, is this guy just a serial killer that's not smart enough to not go around telling people about it? So I tell this Mel guy about it, and he was like, you have to tell. You must have been organizing something at the time. And he said, you've got to tell this guy Zach Black. You know who that is. I think I might have been connected with something on social media. At the time, I was just barely understanding social media. It's like 2015. And I said, no, I think I might have heard the name somewhere, but he goes, call him. I'm kind of this, calling a stranger for a thing like this. And then I'm like, well, am I being a snitch? I've got all this internal dissidence going on, but I'm like, he's asking me to do this, so I tell you about the thing. And then I started kind of telling you about where I came from with this thelemic group, and we started shooting the shit. And we were on the phone for a long time. It was a minimum of like an hour and a half. But I'm pretty sure it was quite a bit longer than that. I remember the office I was in at the time. I remember closing the door, having to peek outside, see if someone was outside, and then go back to our conversation. Okay, that's how I know you. And if you don't remember any of that shit, no problem. But I just thought I'd give that setup. So, um, TST. So this is around the time I'm starting to learn. We didn't have that, as you know, we didn't have that vocabulary at the time. A snowflake, SJW. I had not even. I don't even think I'd been introduced to that term yet. I remember the guy who introduced me to it at the time. And so back then, I don't know about you, but I was limited in my vocabulary for how to describe this problem that, as far as I can tell, was a left-wing problem. I didn't realize it was as big yet. The whole Evergreen thing. I don't think no, it had happened, but it had kind of gotten under my radar by that point. And I had just recently had a conversation, I remember at the time, an unironic conversation for the first time in my life with an anti-First Amendment person. And I blew it off. I'm like, yeah, it's just some crazy fucking kid trying to be edgy, and and then I ran into another one online, another one, and eventually one in person. And I'm like, what the why is this coming out of nowhere? Promise I'm getting to my story. So I didn't have, so I'm like the rest of us, I'm pretty sure. Well, especially because of our age, you're a little younger than me by a couple of years, not by much. So you probably struggled with a lot of the same shit that I did. You're seeing what's going on, the woke, what we call it now, beautiful thing that collectively their opposition, I like to think I was part of it, it's weaponizing their own propaganda term of pretentious, like we're right before the argument starts, against them. Anyway. Well, I was always big on Draw Muhammad Day, and I was kind of like, when I saw how bad it was getting in the West, where people were getting murdered. You had the Charlie Hebdo, that hadn't happened yet. Theo Van Gogh thing had happened, and there was another incident where some, people were being killed about Muhammad, and I may not have known much, but I know. And I think we all did of our generation that were very anti-Christian at the time, which was when you have a mob of religious people telling you you're not allowed to do something that is your God-given right to do, like draw a picture. We were around during the Satanic Panic. I don't have to go say anything else about that, And there was one way you do it, and you do the thing that they told you not to do. So I did Draw Muhammad Day every year. I enjoyed it because, I was getting older at the time. I was pushing 40. I was almost 40. And I'm dealing with, life, and I don't draw as much as I used to. And I got rusty, and this was fun. It kind of got me, drawing again. And I realized, I'm actually decent at this, So it was kind of a fun thing, and it was a way of saying, motherfucker, don't tell me what to do. Oh, you killed somebody. Is that okay? Well, now I have to put, I don't know how brave this is, what the chances of this, and me being the next one, but not only do I have to do this, anyone, so be drawing pictures of Muhammad. Now, there was another incident that might have happened before or after where I had somebody. I had two of these. I had two almost identical stories, one in person. I'm remembering now. Yeah, I know. When is this guy going to... Now I am. I'll tell the first one first, because the same identical story. No, I'll tell the online one first. I don't know which one came first. They were too close together. So, this girl, I posted a picture of Muhammad, and there was a girl from the TST, as many people who were from the TST were on my Facebook at the time, long unfriended, and it wasn't yours truly. But I didn't have to tell you that. It was, and they weren't even like pictures of Muhammad fucking a goat with a strap on, as some people used to tell me. I'm like, hey, miss, no. I'm like, if they're freaking out over nothing, draw nothing. Well, not nothing, but something that's nothing to, So most of the pictures were just tasteful pictures of Muhammad with his name in Arabic written over it. A couple were things like him shilling product. Hi, I'm the Prophet Muhammad, founder of the Muslim faith. Every day, shit like that. I still have them on my Facebook. It was fun. I have a very juvenile sense of humor anyway, so it was a chance for me to do all this at once. One basket, one throw, and then I go back to being an adult. So this girl's like, "Oh, you think you're so edgy?" I'm like, "Really hadn't thought much about being edgy. What's your point?" And she says, "You know how that's sacred to 1.6 billion people." And I'm like, "Am I hearing this? You're a Satanist." Of course, they never actually address your point of what? These people are, and you just want to offend them. I'm like, honey, they're killing people for drawing pictures. And I'm supposed to be worried about not all Muslims. I'm like, okay, let's say not all Muslims. And I'm remembering what I'm remembering. There might be details of this argument. This is all by typing. And it's one of the reasons I'm doing this video as well. It's because after a certain while, I get tired typing, and voice text garbles everything up too much. So. And I'm like, and we argue for a while, and I couldn't believe this wasn't sinking in with this sukkah. I'm like, why are you not getting it, sister? What is it you're not understanding? I'm really trying to have a good faith conversation, and she wasn't. She just wanted to shriek at me for something that was frankly none of her business. And that was weird to me. I still had this idealistic idea about people who called themselves Satanists, that bar none, Aleister Crowley, and by the way, yes, not technically, we talked about that too back then, has a right to draw what he will and write what he will, blah, 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 blah. If only writing it down guaranteed it. So, anyway, after going round and round with her, I go on her Facebook, and I shit you not, Zach. The first picture I see is this one. Zombie Jesus. I'm sorry. My memory had my description there. I had to look this picture up again. The Zombie Last Supper looked like a Cannibal Corpse album. I'm actually pulling it up on my computer right now. I'm pretty sure this was the one. Eating. No, I don't want to accept your friggin' cookies. I'll accept your mother's cookies. Damn it. Fine, accept them. The Last Supper. I guess this is an album or something. And they're eating corpses at the table. If this is the one, I don't know if this is the one, but it was either that one or it's this one where the disciples are actually eating Jesus. The more I look at it, I think it was this one. It was one of these two. My memory had it that it was Jesus and his disciples as zombies eating a corpse on the Last Supper table. And I'm like, see, I'm a naive guy. The way I came into this world as a naive guy. I always thought that hypocrisy, even as an adult, I'm pushing middle age at the time, and I'm like, there's limits to what I believed human hypocrisy was capable of. That nobody would ever dare screech at somebody. But then again, I'd experienced other examples. I would forget about them in my day-to-day life. But I'm like, she's doing this in a public forum where anyone can see her being this. People know what you do, girl. What you're into. I'm like, I can't. Am I looking at this right? So I got a picture of it. I got the picture. I screenshot it.
You're too autistic for hypocrisy.
Oh, fucking A. It's my son. Yes, I am. I was going to say, I thought to say that before, but I'm like, is that really it? This is a bloke that I haven't spoken to in 11 years. His name is Zach Black. He's a YouTuber now, but I first talked to him on the phone when I was giving him a warning about some guy who was either a psychopath or wanted people to believe he was one. And we ended up shooting the shit. We had a really good conversation for like 2 hours.
Zach Black, that name rings a bell.
Well, it rings a bell because it probably sounds like the actor. I'd probably even leave this in this conversation. It's kind of like, I'll bet you get that a lot, what you just heard. Yeah, you're thinking, well, there was Jack Black.
No, okay, so the reason that Zach Black specifically rings a bell to me is because it's like, yeah, it's striking, like, yeah, it sounds like Jack Black, but I think I've had that thought before, like, oh, that name sounds a bit like Jack Black.
Yep.
I remember feeling that way at some point.
I might have told you the story of our conversation. Yeah. And I'm telling him the story that it was always on the back of my mind because it happened like within 6 months of that conversation when we talked. And I remember it being a passing thought I would have for the last 10 years. It'd be like, I got to tell this, Zach, because you started talking shade on TST, rightly so, pretty early on. I remember how you kind of slowly worked your way into it. I didn't remember if you were involved in the TST or not, which is a pretty bad thing to forget because you would have definitely told me that in the conversation, and you were probably organizing shit for them at the time. Now that I refresh my memory, so I post her this picture, and I just said, "You were saying," and oh yeah, what I was about to say, I had just learned how to screenshot something. Yeah, like it's pushing 2016. And I had just maybe learned how to do it on my phone once, and then a few months later, somebody had taught me on my computer. And
you learned how to do it on your phone first?
Tyler showed me, yeah. Remember the time that we went up to the river? There was that hot girl that was a real bitch, and the first person who ever said that, what the fuck is that girl's problem? You're 13. Yeah, well, yes, she was. She still is. I don't like her. I don't like her, but
you know what the thing is?
Yeah.
It was her bathing suit. It was very unflattering.
It was unflattering. She was a goth girl. It was an R2D2 bathing suit.
Yeah, it was the nastiest shit ever.
If I was her pimp,
it looked like a diaper.
Well, it didn't fit her like a diaper, but I could see why you're saying that. Yeah. Anyway.
Maybe she's gorgeous. I don't know.
Here's my son and I talking shop, and I'm making a video for you. I'm probably gonna leave this in too. What's that?
Oh, this is a video. I thought you were talking to him directly.
I don't give a shit. This is actually kind of cool. This might be a cool thing for me to leave in. Context, Yeah. Somebody else coming in the room and, I just don't want it to be too long. Which already at 17 minutes. So, okay. I'll cut something out.
Probably a storage limit on Facebook. Just bear that in mind.
I don't put it on Facebook. I put it on YouTube.
Oh, you're uploading it on YouTube. That's a weird way of communicating.
You've never seen that I have you never seen my YouTube channel?
No.
I mean, I don't know. It's nothing but... It's not supposed to be. I have no illusions I'm going to become a YouTuber at all.
Okay, well, that's absolutely fine. You're uploading stuff for recreation. That's what YouTube is meant for.
Yeah, I know. So, I'll probably just give you a warning. My son comes in the room and we start talking shop. Oh, shit.
I'll leave now.
I don't care. If there's content that ruins the video at all, that I don't want in there at all, I'll just cut it out. So anyway, I'm gonna get back on track. Probably put this at the end, like they used to do with movies at the end. Here's the outtakes. Anyway, had one thing that I thought of in passing when he walked in talking about the old days. I forgot what it was. Don't matter. Okay, so, and she insulted me. I don't remember how. I didn't care. I'm like. Something like, oh, yeah, okay, edgelord. It wasn't that, but it was something like that. And that was it. And I'm sitting there with my metaphorical dick in my hand. I'm like, did that just happen? Somebody who is in an organization called the Satanic Temple is shrieking because I'm offending somebody's religious sensibilities. Somebody's religious sensibilities that a significant portion of their population kills people for offending them. I'm like, why did you become a Satanist? Okay, that was Exhibit 1. Exhibit 2. I'm not going to say her name. You're from Arizona too. Phoenix, I believe. No, you said Tempe, if I remember right. Yeah. So I'm in Phoenix, way over here, near where the mall used to be, right outside of PV, and there is a band. They're still around, last I heard, although I think they may be wrapping it up soon. I think. Called the Satanic League of Underground Techno. And I was gonna not mention this, but you don't know which member of the band it is, and frankly I don't give a fuck. It's a conversation I had with a singer. She worked alongside me at one point. We would spend long during the daylight hours, and she would sit alongside me for long hours during the day, passing the time away when customers weren't coming in. May 20th was coming around. Goody. Picture page. Get out your crayons and your pencils. Put yellow pudding. So, and I'm being immature again, as I am, for a good cause. And I had a whole this time I had a whole shitload. Now that I think about it, the one I'm about to tell, this happened first. I had to have. So I draw these pictures of Muhammad, and again, most of them are tasteful. I had one where he was shilling Preparation H, but there was nothing in there about Muhammad talking about his butthole or anything like that. Specifically, he didn't talk about his. Stuff like this. It was, but most of them, I don't know which one she saw, but none of them were particularly offensive. Especially when you consider that this is somebody who goes up on stage in performance with, you take about a dozen of your heavy metal albums from the 80s and put them together. That's what you see when she goes on stage. Again, I'm like, she said almost verbatim what the other girl does. This offends a lot of people. He's sacred to a lot of people. I'm like, and at first I'm arguing, yeah, right, he is, but he was a murderer. But even then, people who follow him are killing people now for drawing pictures. Do you not understand? And here I am having the same conversation that I would later have. She was not in the Satanic Temple. Okay, so this was the first one, and I'm like, and at first I'm trying to have a regular conversation, but I had to move the conversation being about her. I'm like, you're in a band called the fucking Satanic League of Underground Techno. I thought the name was pretty clever. The music wasn't bad either. They actually got really good over time. Especially if you like Screamo, which I'm too old for that shit. I always was. But when I get past the fact that it's not my cup of tea, they really ended up sounding good towards those last couple shows I saw. And digress. So that's it. I'm like, the Satanic Temple. I would later find out that the one girl was not a lone wolf. That they all gathered round, encircled the wagons around. Not just Muslims, but anyone who would dare poke fun at Muslims, while at the same time, now I understood what was going on, but I didn't really have a vocabulary. And today I would say it like this. The home team, your own, being Americans, tend to be Christian, and they are fodder for you. White privilege, the Patricia Bidol bullshit doctrine in its various incarnations. And I'm like, okay, but they wouldn't say that. They never said that. They would just, you're not supposed to do this because we say so. They say because we say so. And I'm like, how is this possible? In what parallel universe does a Satanist go around and do that? I could understand maybe, and I know that there were people in various satanic groups, I don't know if they knew the they or whatnot, but that didn't like to but it was an equal playing field, I don't know who was who that did that, but I know there was a figurehead or two that didn't particularly like going out of their way to mock other religions because they didn't think it was gentlemanly or something. You'd remember this better than me, So that's my story, Zach. I hope if God willing, you, no joke. God willing, you watched this video all the way through. I'm sure you get people showing you videos all the friggin' time, and I wouldn't feel bad if you didn't. But I thought this is a good time for me to reminisce this and send it to Zach. And I also recognize you may not remember me because I know you have met and you meet a lot of people. I hope your health is doing good. You ended up in the hospital. You had what looked like a near-death experience. I'm actually looking at it right now because there was a couple I was like, wait a minute. Because I remember all you said, more details when you can type better. And at first I felt like a little bit of an ass because I started this video. I'm like, I should have at least looked at what it was. But I didn't think to do it because I was used to, I saw a post from you, not every day since you did. Well, that was January 1st. You actually hadn't posted much. You did a little bit. You had about one for every day, or about one for every other day, give or take, as I glance. And you said details later, and you just kept on posting, but you never mentioned it again. So I was thinking, I hope you're doing good, whatever it was that you weren't mentioning. You are 54. You're older than me. That's right. I remember that when I read this. And then there was the humanoid creature. That would be interesting to hear more about too. More details than then. And the beauty marks to take home through. Oh, suppose you had one of those supernatural entity bit you things, right? Wow. Wow. I'm looking at some of the people. We only have 4 friends in common, and I remember all that I've met in person except Jason Dinger, and I probably did, and it was a long time ago, so I forgot. Anyway, a lot of things I want to start rambling about, but I'm not gonna. So, you had your gallbladder removed, and that's the same thing actually happened to my brother. So I'm surprised I had to remember what you had that removed. I was gonna say your appendix, and I'm glad I'm gonna leave this in here and admit that I got it wrong. Same thing happened to my brother, but I hope you're doing good, and hope we get a chance to talk again sometime.